Candace Owens went on one of the most unhinged rants in regard to education that I've heard from a conservative, and that's really saying something, because conservatives love to go on unhinged rants about the education system. Now, the overarching message is, make sure you keep your kids stupid. Watch.
I am passionate right now in speaking to mothers and in speaking to fathers and telling you guys that the time is now to pull your kids out. Bring your children back home. They will learn more in your household. I don't care how you have to organize. I promise you, you can do it. Organize with people down the street. Pull your children out of these indoctrination camps. Save the children. Save the future generation. And you will save America in the process.
What? So, okay, believe it or not, that was the least unhinged part of her rant. It gets more unhinged, and I'll get to that in just a second. But, you know, this idea that parents just take their, like, she's so disconnected from the realities that most Americans are facing that she thinks that in a current economic situation where both parents have to work in order to make ends meet, they can also just like pull their kids out of school and their kids will magically learn more by being home while their parents have to work and can't give them the attention they need to get an education. Okay, sure, yeah. Maybe you can do that, Candace, with nannies and whoever else you hire to help you, get through the day. Ordinary Americans, though, not able to do that.
Well, look, so for a long time on TYT, we've been telling you that the right wing is against anything that brings you facts, whether it's media, professors, scientists, and of course, teachers. So here, they're just getting to the natural conclusion of that evolution, or in this case, probably the opposite of evolution. But now they're saying, just pull them out of schools. It's inconvenient for them to learn facts. And we got you guys on the ropes. That's what right-wing leaders are saying to basically right-wing voters. Obviously not in that language, but basically she's saying, we got you to believe outrageous things that aren't true about how vaccines don't work and masks don't work and Trump actually won the election and maybe you should try injecting yourself with bleach and wind causes cancer and all the other absurd things that our fearless leaders said. Since now you guys are so ignorant and believe so many absurd things, perfect, let's finish it. Let's get your kids out of school so they never learn anything. You don't want them learning any stinking facts. No, just feed them a steady diet of our propaganda. Have them go to Fox News 101 and then they'll gorge on ignorance. And probably some will celebrate that in the right wing and maybe take her advice.
She's also encouraging parents to break the law because your kids have to be in school. So if they're not in a traditional school and you wanna take them out and maybe homeschool, you literally have to homeschool. You can't just pull kids out of school and like be like, I don't know, indoctrination, so just hang out. Like you literally can't do that.
Anna, no.
Like, she's so dumb. Okay.
Educating our kids is well-known government tyranny, Anna. Everybody knows that.
Of course.
Giving them a possible bright future, tyranny.
Now, believe it or not, it gets worse. Let's listen.
Turns out that nobody needs a gender studies major when something breaks down in their house. So they graduate college and they have no means to make money. You know what that turns them into? An angry person. A person that hates their country. A person that thinks that there's something fundamentally wrong and backwards about America, especially about capitalism. Because look, they did everything right. They stayed in school and they can't make any money. They don't know how to change a tire. They don't know how to change a light bulb. In fact, the kids that they were convinced were stupid, kids that went to trade school back in high school, they're making more money than them. How is that possible? This is the system that the Department of Education has intentionally created because they know that what happens next is those kids that are super bitter and angry, they go out and they become the Antifa thugs that you see on the streets, the Black Lives Matter thugs that you see on the streets, the idiot professors that teach the kids the nothing that they know because all they could become was a professor in the nothing that they ever learned. The gender studies programs. That is what is happening right now in the education system. We are intentionally churning out useful idiots. So I will ask you the question again. Why are you sending your children to school?
So are we talking about college or are we talking about grade school? Like, I don't know what she's talking about because she seems to be conflating two different things. So she's like talking about parents pulling their kids out of school, and then she immediately like pivots to gender studies majors at colleges and how they're all useful idiots, and the education department is part of this global cabal to make everyone hate capitalism. Like, what is she talking about? By the way, the education department, in terms of like curriculum for grade schools, is pretty hands off. Now they do play more of a role when it comes to colleges and universities and stuff like that, but I just find it so fascinating that she thinks that the education system in America is what's making people critical of capitalism.
Yeah.
And she's like, I mean, like, what, you can't make any money? You don't know how to make any money? I mean, I make money easily. I just take money from my conservative donors and funders, and I make a lot of money. Look at how rich I am. What, you can't do it? It's because you studied gender studies in college. No, it's because actual people with principles and values want to work hard. They want to do something that gives them purpose for a living. Whereas you just sold out to conservatives, and you are literally a useful idiot for right wingers in America. That's literally, I mean, it's projection.
Yeah, they actually find her useful enough to pay her to say that stuff. Now, for the funders, they don't really care about any of the other stuff. She said, I mean, if she's fighting for deregulation of businesses and further tax cuts, yeah, they like that. They like the part she said about defending capitalism. That's part of why they're giving her the money. But the main reason is when she calls Black Lives Matter activists thugs, because they need a black face to call other black people thugs because they can't do it themselves. So they pay someone who is useful and not so bright,
right,
and has no ethics at all to say, okay, go out there now, dance for us, and then tell everybody that black people are at fault and that they're thugs. It's not the cops that are at fault for shooting unarmed black people and killing them. It's the black people that are at fault for complaining about it. And we need somebody black. Come on, somebody dance for us, okay? And Candace like, me, I'll do it. And so, by the way, this is quite literal in regards to right-wing strategy. Back during the 2012 election, there was a memo written where a Republican donor said, we need to find a brown face to attack Obama and on racial issues. And so at that time, one of the brown faces they had found and talked about was Dinesh D'Souza. So there's a cottage industry of brown faces, brown and black faces, who right-wing billionaires actively look for so that they can blame black people for everything. And by the way, what are we talking about? She started talking about capitalism. So the problem with capitalism is Black Lives Matter activists? Now that message is literally brought to you by right-wing capitalists who fund Candace Owens to say this crap.
No, exactly, but it gets even deeper than that, right? Because keep in mind, when you live the kind of lifestyle that Candace Owens gets to live, as someone who has sold out to any value she may have had or whatever, like completely abandoned all that to take the right-wing money to be a right-wing grifter. I mean, you're living a pretty easy life, right? I mean, you don't have to struggle. You don't have to worry about how you're gonna pay your rent. You don't have to worry about going bankrupt because of medical bills. And so her life is so disconnected from the realities of average people in this country that she's stupid enough to believe that the reason why people in America right now are critical toward capitalism is because they're being indoctrinated against capitalism in schools. No, honey, what's really happening is people are witnessing their families go bankrupt because of medical debt. People are witnessing family members die because they didn't want to go to the hospital when they were sick because they were worried about potentially going bankrupt thanks to medical debt. Because they've seen either themselves or their family members, their loved ones, their friends work endlessly, 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and still couldn't pay their bills because their wage was so incredibly low, right? I think those are the reasons why people are critical toward capitalism. Those are the reasons why, like, their lived experience matters. But she just erases all of that, ignores all of that, because she can't relate to it. To be fair, she can't relate to it. So she just blames it on education. The education system is indoctrinating you. Like, I gotta be honest, I really don't remember anything that was critical toward capitalism in the education I got in this country.
Yeah, exactly. Which high school did she go to? It was like, Marx is right about everything. Okay, so look, again, there's a conflating the two issues. Anna's right. Pulling your kids out of high school, junior high, et cetera, is mental. When it comes to college, though, well, that's an interesting question, because you're going to come out with giant student debt. Because why? Capitalism, and the donors don't want to pay for any of that, because then you could create a business, and that might help you, and that might help the community, it might even help the economy, but it wouldn't help them, it might compete with them, right? So they're gonna press you down. So you're gonna walk out with giant debt. If you gotta help you if you get sick, you're gonna have even more debt. You're not gonna be able to find a good job. Now, why is all that? People see that, they're frustrated, that's why she's addressing it. She says, no, don't believe your lying eyes. It's not that capitalism screwed you and you can't get a job. It's not that capitalism screwed you and left you with all this debt. It's gender studies. Come on, really? Really, guys, even if you're a right winger, you know that isn't true. You know that it's structural issues having to do with the economy. And what economy do we live under? We don't live under Marxism, we live under extreme capitalism. So if you're mad about your economic condition, there's no question who you should be mad at. I mean, in a best case scenario, you would say, as I say, that it's crony capitalism and the big corporations have captured our government through corruption. And you should fight that core problem, not the things that Candace Owens is trying to distract you with in order to appease her funders.
Right.
And finally, let's end on this, or at least for me, this amusing thing. I mean, you notice what she said? You know, you take gender studies, how's that gonna help you with anything when something breaks down around the house? Is that the only issue in life? How do I change a light bulb? Something broke in the house, oh, the light bulb's out. Oh, it's a good thing I took gender studies.
There's this amazing resource called YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
And I've learned quite a bit around the house by watching YouTube tutorials.
There's TaskRabbit. You could hire a good American to go and actually fix the things that broke down in your house. And you could take gender studies to figure out, hey, it turns out there's been systemic oppression of women for centuries, not just in this country, but throughout the world, and that has cost them money, let alone everything else, let alone their freedoms, and that you should fight against that so that there's more freedom in the world, and so that women can have income equality, which would actually affect their lives. So thereby helping you with your life through gender studies and TaskRabbit. Okay, they're not a sponsor, but I'm just breaking things down for Candace because she seems in the dark, if you will. Maybe the light bulb broke, she doesn't know how to fix it.
She doesn't know how to fix it, everybody.
Maybe she's sitting around the house going, damn it, I wish I took gender studies.
Maybe she should have gone to a trade school. I mean, she claims that trade schools are great. And by the way, trade schools are great for people who want to go to trade schools and learn a trade.
Well, she did in a sense. She went to a slight different variation. She went to trader school because she used to be on the left and she once made money by suing for racial discrimination. Then she realized, oh, if I trade teams and I pretend there is no racial discrimination, I'll get even more money from right wingers who love to blame black people. The only thing I gotta trade away is my soul.
Well,
and that was an easy deal for Candace.
And that is, unfortunately, the most profitable kind of school in America.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.